Well, that was a welly emergency, if you believe it. I'm still struggling with the idea. Anyway, where did I get to? Somewhere on here. Ah, yes. Lines. Here's my genius. See how this one is at a slight angle? I'm going to do something similar, and this is one of the reasons I quite like lychee, because I'm going to come over here and put in supports that cross brace like this. It is a bit of a knack to get the right ones in the right place. However, if I cross brace them to each other, there's no need for all this faff with all the giant amounts of stuff underneath, the big skid pan things. There's no need to have supports that stick into the wrong part. I'm not too happy with this actually, it's looking a bit big. Did I just medium? I think I did. I did medium. You must not medium on cross brace supports. You must light. Look at that. Cut through others, adds triangles, is fantastic. Yeah, maybe. Maybe not. Okay, there comes a point though where your supports are smaller than the actual things you're trying to hold up. At which point, don't be a pain. Just delete them. Let's do cross brace support, fantastic. That's how we like it. If you get too many supports in one area, what tends to happen is that the 3D printing, instead of printing them correctly, what it does is some kind of weird blob and everything gets lost. So you don't really want to overdo it, but at the same time there's a nice amount that's considered reasonable. All of this on the bottom is lost unless you support it. You need to support every single part of a of underneath a print, because it just loses detail. However, there's a bit of cleverness to this. So if I put in points that go where there's already dents, then the dimples that you make, there we go, aren't too bad. And then you can do a bit of cross bracing. Come on. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm not accepting what the machine spits out because it doesn't understand how it works. It doesn't understand how it itself works, let alone how 3D printing properly works. I think, if I was to be kind, I'd say that the algorithmic designers have a bit of work to do. In other words, you've programmed it wrong, you numpties. To be fair, it's the best on the market that I've seen, certainly of the cheap end. That said, you're not looking for the things that I'm looking for. And why not? Why isn't this automatic? How come there's an art form to something that can be programmed? That's pathetic. This shouldn't be an art. It should be a button that you press and it's done. Magic! Like the button you got, but that works. So, some way to go on that yet, I think, because they don't understand about supporting underneath objects like this to get the details out. They don't understand about leaving gaps between different pillars so that you don't end up with a blob that's just stuck to everything and rips the model in half. They don't seem to understand about the idea of it losing detail underneath and being better on the top, or about mini supports like this requiring this is one of my cool moves like that, bracing with another mini support over longer distances, about checking angles. Oh, when you put in a support, always put in a support at as near to 90 degrees as you can get from the face that you're supporting. So that one goes over there, not over here. Even basics like that. Machines, no good. Don't understand. Does not compute. And here I'm going to go for ridiculously small because the things that it is supporting are now my printer is a Mars 2 Pro, which means it can support an XY resolution of somewhere around 50 microns and can do AA and stuff as well, which takes it down to somewhere between 35 and 25 microns. However, that does not mean that I print anything at 35 microns minimum. So as you saw there, that support, this one, 12. Is that right? No, 120 microns. And actually I think I need to support it again. I wonder. Is that touching? I think it is. Right. Which one was I working on? Not this one, but this one. Anything I've missed? I wish I could shotgun splatter these, because I'd very much like on the undersides of things to be able to just go have 100 separate teeny tiny supports and get masses of detail out. That's going to need a normal thing, so let's make it so that it comes away with all the rest. Okay, that's pretty good. Anything else need doing? Yeah, I'm going to take that and move it around. I'm doing this for good reason. Triangles make the strongest supports. Therefore, what you want is not just straight lines all the way up all the time. It's best if you can put triangles that go through the other supports, like this. Just drag them around a bit. Why doesn't the machine do that? Not a human. Not clever enough. Nobody thought that far ahead. I'm using roughly the same amount of resin, and I'm printing almost exactly the same amount of time, in fact exactly the same amount of time, and I'm producing almost exactly the same amount of waste, but actually it's reduced dramatically because what I have done is made sure that the waste that I produce isn't totally wasted by throwing out an entire print. So here, that's too clumped together. These 19mm wingspan wings are going to be fantastic, but one of those needs to go. Maybe. Seemed to think it was important to have that there. Let's do that. Support required. That's at the wrong angle. Okay, I'm not going to be able to brace that one. Right, let's have a look. Good, I can see which one I've done. That's pretty cool. Quick check. Have I got supports on all the yellowy bits in all the right places? I'm not sure it needs one there, but I'm putting one in. Looking good. And this one. No. Yikes, that looks overdone. Yeah, that ain't good for it. Too congested. That's too thick. That's too thin. That'll do. Let's do a thinny on here. Is that attached to? Really? That was your idea of clever, was it? Okay, let's have actually clever. On there. The other thing is, by doing it this way, not only do I cross brace other things, but you can, of course, get angles that the machine can't get when it goes straight up from 0. Now, sometimes I'm supporting just a tip itself, but most of the time what I actually want to support is not the tip that sticks up, but the element under that is built on it. Obviously, even half-cured resin can hold some amount of weight. What it can't do is hold stuff like this perfectly. So what I want in here is a little bit of cross bracing. So the whole thing, let's go light. No, not what I wanted. Come back. The whole thing supports itself and the other parts of it. There we go, look at that. Sometimes these ones are absolute genius, and I appreciate my own genius. Sometimes they're rubbish, and I have to do them again. And most of the time there's something in between, which I think is a fair assessment. I like it when they do that, when they go slightly dug into something else. I find that really good, because then the bulk of it isn't wasted, but it does do that thing of reinforcing against something else. And it's triangles, remember, that are the strongest shape. Now up here, I'm trying to add in supports without losing the detail, because you need it to actually to support these things, but at the same time, even 0.15 of a mil is not enough detail. I'm not perfectly certain that the machine will be able to handle it, but I'd rather give it something to chew on than not. The printer, I should say. Okay, because in theory, anything you can design can be printed, but in practice, theory and practice are different. Okay. Oh, that was very good. That went straight through something else. Again, one of the things about Lychee, it's fantastic, and it's got collision detection that is permanently on, but doesn't always work. Collision detection, my backside. What you mean is it's got partial collision detection, or variable. It's fine if you're using a full support that goes right to the bottom. It's reasonable most of the time when you use use Alt to get the what do they call it? These kind of arm supports. It's absolutely bogging when it comes to using these micro supports. I'm trying to go 90 degrees to the angle each time, 90 degrees to the actual. I don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. But the more of these I can put in, the better the detail will be. So let's put in one there. And if I had designed this at 50 mil, and I put all these supports in, and then I reduced it down, that would be horrendous. Go in the dip. Said I shouldn't. Excellent. Escamolente. Right. Let's have a look. Tips. That's too chunky. That's going to cause a pile up. As is that. Nope. That'll be held up by it itself. That's not too chunky. That might be bad. That one was the one I was after. That one. That one. Why do you keep picking the other one? That one. That one also needs changing. Having seen it in practice, I'm not so worried about doing ridiculously tiny supports anymore. I used to think it couldn't possibly work. Physically it shouldn't, but it does. Just does. Oh, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Not going to happen. At all. Just not happening. Right. I am streaming.
Good to know.
Thank you.
Not yell my passwords.
Okay. I really want to be doing day-to-day boring work.
What exactly are you streaming at?
It's something you don't see very often. This is what I do anyway. I wanted a recording of the video anyway, and it seems ridiculous to record it, to put it up to sites that then stream it to other people, and not to just stream the thing. Although, to be fair, I did get interrupted with a phone call at one point.
Yes, that would be bad.
Yes, I had to stop. Start.
Have you got any viewers then?
No, probably no. I have no idea. Let's have a look, shall we?
Because if not, this conversation is largely pointless.
One viewer.
Oh my goodness, we've got
Hello,
a viewer.
Hello. Excellent. Okay.
On that note, may I have a chocolate milkshake carton thingy?
Yeah, if you want.
Yeah.
Celebratory chocolate milkshake carton viewer celebration moment. Which, depending on how healthy you want to be, is fantastic or awful. Right. Save this as 19mm Vermilion bird curvy. And let's view it all again. Let's do parenting. And this one could do with a few. That's yeah, that's better. A few lopsided supports to add strength to the existing system by intersecting the other supports and toughening them up with no change to the amount of resin used or waste. I do find the waste horrendous. I have plans for it. We're going to make rocks out of it. I already make little kind of scenery rocks using the likes of, you need to go light, using the likes of papier-mâché, PVA, stuff like that. So we're just going to do more of the same, but with these integrated. Sadly, the good stuff, which I use, which is the, I specifically use ABS-like because it's tough. It actually works. It survives the drop test, which is an absolute priority. If you're going to, especially if you're selling something, you want something that people can value and can rely on. However, just because it passes the drop test, I do find it a bit of a shame that it has to be some kind of weird, horrible, unrecyclable alloy. To be fair, I don't think I could recycle it anyway. Doing well. 0. Because I mix it with other stuff to make it super, super tough. And not your usual stuff either. Annoyingly, I find it's worth subscribing to My Mini Factory just to get the extra bonus resin that they produce to use as a strengthener on normal Elegoo ABS-like. Trade Secrets 101. Thank you. Right, looks pretty good. They are about as well supported as they can be. The detail should be kept. I can see I've got loads of struts supporting a little bit needed here. Tips. Top tip, show tips. It's a broke tip when you don't start singing. Right, looking good. I think that's as much as I can reasonably do on that. Let's save that and arrange them. That is pathetic. Let's arrange them manually because it doesn't understand how to compute arrangements. So, given that the plate lands in the centre, held by a central strut, but it's a wide plate, it's a rectangular one, I want these as close to the centre as I reasonably can have, while not being too close to each other. Use negatives. Duh. That looks oddly more one way than the other. 15, negative 15. Okay, your centre of mass is slightly off compared to the other one. That's better. There we go. I don't need a raft, I don't need a skiff or anything for it to come off. I'll just use my scraper. That will hold very nicely. I'm currently using 25 micron layers, so this will do some ridiculous amount of layers. How many thousand? 7p. 7p of expensive plastic and an hour of time. However, it is reusable at least with the wings. So, 3 hours of printing. Always put it on AA, stick it on as much as possible. I find 60% fill works best. Anything less won't work. Let's have a look at what it looks like. I love this bit. It's hypnotic. You can see it evolving. You shouldn't really sit and watch it. You should be doing something more useful with your time. Not going to. Going to sit and watch it. You can really see how the struts are massive compared to the actual print. One of the other reasons for using ABS-like is when you've got very fine prints like this, 1/4 of a mil thick and things, you need it to be strong, otherwise it would just flake apart. Right, excellent. So, for my next job, having done that, I'll go and print it now, I'll shove it in the queue. I expect that to help in terms of this. This is what we're doing it for. Officially it's me, but I'm doing Etsy, I print stuff commercially and people ask for wings. So just as a reminder, war figure on Etsy, fantastic 5-star ratings because no, let's do it this way, because everybody wants one of these, or these, or these, or in this case, these. These are these. I've mirrored them. They come pre-mirrored anyway, but at this scale you wouldn't be able to tell. I have individually supported them because you need to. When I run the test print, in fact I'm already seeing now things that need adjusting. So in there you can't just print into the midair. It is a silly idea that will not work. So you have to support these teeny tips that stick out, otherwise what you get is just a little triangle. Having said that, if you can support this lot, well then you're golden, and it looks absolutely stunning even under the microscope. Personally, when I'm inspecting these, once I've printed them, I use jeweler's magnifiers, jeweler's glasses, and they get me into a 2.5 times zoom, so I deliberately and specifically magnify to inspect. I think you need to. It's important. Oh, come on. Because if you're not checking what it looks like beyond the human eye, what's the way of putting it? It's that thing about highest standards. Do it to the highest possible standard, you can't go wrong. Or at least not far wrong. If you allow it to be a bit rubbish from the get-go, oh, I don't care, it's not that important, who's going to fuss? I've contacted people before and said I've realised there's a flaw afterwards by checking on this particular batch, do you want it reprinted? Most of the time they're not fussed because they hadn't even noticed there was a flaw. But it's only fair that you give them the option. What is that doing? That's what that should be doing. No, it shouldn't. Where's that gone? That's what that should be doing. No? Good. Better. Okay, let's have another look. Do it again. I'm not going to watch it this time. Yes, overwrite that. Sorry if you are watching it. So those are what we've just been looking at. That's what they ordered, that's what they're getting. I try and give people choices on which ones they're going to do and on what scale and stuff like that. I've done mock-ups. If you haven't seen the mock-up video, it's I think it's quite interesting. You convert 2D to 3D, that's pretty cool. What I'm trying to do here is showcase what War Figure does to get people what they buy. one day I'm hoping it will be done for me by other like-minded people, that it won't just be me plugging away. The other thing is I'm hoping that all of this experience doing it is reusable and helpful. Okay. Right, I like this. Do you want to close, save and quit? Yes, save and quit. Every machine should do that. Right. So that's how we put struts on, that's how we do supports. If you're using 25 or 30 or 35 mil light supports in Naichi or in one of the others, Shitu box, it's fine, but you get big dimples. If you're not anchoring your work, it's fine sometimes, but most of the time it will rip apart. And if you are doing all of that, you still probably want to adjust whatever automated process they do, because automated eventually just doesn't work. Why do you want to do that? This is why. On this listing for different size wings at different scales, 5 stars all the way. You put in some effort, but it pays off. So if you're supporting your own 3D prints and you don't know why you're getting failures, there's basic things like up the time on each individual thing. Where is it? Let's have a look. I wasn't meant to be doing a how to do your settings. I was going to do mine, but so be it. So in your own time. On here. So I'm using mix. This is any rubbish. It's mainly ABS, but it's also other bits and bobs. You have to do it at different times of year differently. I did this in autumn as it went to winter. You can keep things like this over summer, providing it's not in full sun. I'm spending about £35 a bottle. I probably need to change that actually to 40 now. I deliberately got a low lift speed, 60 millimeters, when it first burns in, and I'm finding with a flat plate 35 seconds is absolutely fine. If anything, it's quite stuck to it. You need 25 microns if you're going to have anything professional looking. You could get away with 35. 30 is good, 25 is spot on. I leave it delayed for a little while to cool down, but 3 seconds on a Mars 2 Pro is plenty. That's the maximum I ever use. Usually I try and get it down to 2 or 2.5, but if it doesn't print properly, don't do that. Keep the exposure time high. And I've slightly increased the lift distance, and I've lowered the speeds. Retract speed is the wrong phrase. What they mean is push speed, because it's the speed, or drop speed or something. It's the speed going back down to the plate. So in this case, where you have this, what you get, have I got the setting here? No, that's annoying. I want to be able to see the actual lift plate, but if you imagine it's stuck to a plate here, it prints on the floor of the bed, layer by layer, and it actually gets dragged up. But every time it does that, every time it does a single layer, there's a small notch as it goes slightly too high and then back down again, and then prints, and then keeps doing that, so it keeps going like that. You want this bit pulling up to be 90 millimeters per minute or less. You want this one going down to be as fast as possible within reason. 210 is fine once you've started printing, because it doesn't matter if you push some of the liquid out of the way, but if you pull away too fast, then what happens is it literally rips itself apart. So, don't save this time, thank you very much. I hope that's useful. That's how you do the supports and things. Thank you, viewer, whoever you are. But I'm going to save the video, hopefully, for posterity, and maybe even stick it on there. If you're interested in 3D printing, it's clearly the future. If you're interested in how to support things and slice things, Lychee, recommended. Box, pretty good. If you're using resin printers. Otherwise, it's got to be Ultimaker and Cura all the way. I say Ultimaker, it's got to be Cura. Great software, expensive machines. So again, I don't use them. I use an Elegoo, which is pretty cool. But you just cannot get this kind of, let me show you. Click the wrong screen, why don't you? You just cannot get this kind of quality on FDM. It's got to be resin printing. So if I zoom in, that's a 2-inch figure, 1.5 maybe, and you can see the individual striations on wings. That's what we're trying to get. But you've got to support underneath, anchor it, and use teeny tiny supports and make sure that they stay together and don't rip off into the actual product. Right, I spent far too long doing that, and I've talked too much. So hopefully I'll see you again quicker and less talky next time. Thank you. Bye bye.